Like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Australia pledges $1 million in aid for Quake hit Afghanistan. The federal government has announced $1 million in additional emergency relief for Afghanistan, after the country was hit by an earthquake that killed more than 1,000 people and left thousands homeless. Foreign Minister Penny Wong said in a statement that the funding was on top of $140 million Australia had pledged in assistance to Afghanistan since September 2021. The earthquake has caused extensive loss of life, homes and livelihoods, with the full effects still to be determined, Senator Wong said. This tragedy comes at a time when the humanitarian needs in Afghanistan are greater than ever. The Taliban has called for international governments to roll back sanctions and lift a freeze on the Afghan central bank's assets in light of the devastation. With at least 1,000 people killed and more than 1,500 missing, rescue workers in the remote Gayan district are looking for survivors, with hope fading with every passing hour. Read more. The magnitude 6.1 quake that hit the east of the country early on Wednesday destroyed or damaged 10,000 homes and injured about 2,000 people, straining the country's fragile health system. Authorities have called off the search for survivors in the mountainous southeastern region near the Pakistani border. The Islamic Emirate is asking the world to give the Afghans their most basic right, which is their right to life, and that is through lifting the sanctions and unfreezing our assets and also giving assistance, Abdul Qahar Balkhi, a Foreign Affairs Ministry spokesman, told Reuters. While humanitarian aid continues to flow to Afghanistan, funds needed for longer-term development were halted when the Taliban seized control of the country in August 2021 as foreign forces withdrew. The administration of the hardline Islamist group is not formally recognized by international governments. Billions of US dollars in Afghan central bank reserves remain frozen overseas and sanctions hamper the banking sector as the West pushes for concessions on human rights. Western governments are particularly concerned about the rights of women and girls to work and study under Taliban rule. In March, the group stopped high schools for girls from opening. White House spokesperson Karine Jean Pierre said the U.S. government was working on complicated questions about the use of these frozen central bank funds to ensure they benefit the people of Afghanistan and not the Taliban. She added that the U.S. Agency for International Development was providing assistance with humanitarian organizations. Asked about the issue, Mr Balkhi said Afghans' right to life-saving funds should be the priority, adding that the international community handled concerns over human rights differently depending on the country involved. Is this rule universal? Because the United States just passed an anti-abortion law, Mr Balkhi said, referring to the Supreme Court's overturning of the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling that recognized a woman's right to an abortion. 16 countries in the world have taken away the rights of religious minorities, especially Muslims. Are they also facing sanctions because they are violating rights? He asked. Space to play or pause, M to mute, left and right arrows to seek, up and down arrows for volume. China, US, Pakistan to assist Afghanistan. The disaster is a major test for Afghanistan's hardline Taliban rulers, who have been shunned by many foreign governments due to concerns about human rights since they seized control of the country last year. Afghanistan has been cut off from much direct international assistance because of Western sanctions, deepening a humanitarian crisis in swaths of the country even before this week's earthquake. Senator Wong's statement said that Australia's aid would be delivered through United Nations agencies already operating in the affected area and would towards providing shelter, food and medical support for those in need. The Australian government extends its deepest condolences to the people of Afghanistan, and the Afghan-Australian community, the statement said. The Union's migration agency said it had begun distributing thousands of emergency shelters and hygiene kits in affected areas. Aftershocks killed at least 5 more people in the area some 160 kilometers southeast of the capital Kabul, and medical staff said rudimentary healthcare facilities were hampering their efforts to help the injured. Those injured that were in a bad condition and needed operations we can do here, have been sent to Kabul, said Abrar, who goes by one name, the manager of a hospital in Paktika, the worst affected province. In Kabul, hospitals more used to treating victims of war have opened their wards to earthquake victims. Usually we admit only war-related patients or patients in life-threatening conditions, but in this case we